let's go from that to number 11, Alabama, beating, in air quotes, Texas A&M 26-20. I say beating in air quotes because at times it felt like which one of these teams wants to lose this game more? I mean, I counted 9 false starts from the Alabama offensive line, which didn't do anything to help their run game. As a matter of fact, their run game was non-existent. We're talking about negative 13 rush yards in the first half for a Nick Saban Alabama offense. And this one is more egregious because he built this team to be a running team first. However, they showed they got some buck to them and some backbone, because I got to see Jalen Milroe have the best game of his life at Alabama. 21-33, 321 yards, his first 300-yard passing performance, 3 TDs through the air, and 1 interception. Most of those receiving yards, though, kind of like Kyle McCord to Marvin Harrison Jr., were Jalen Milroe to Jermaine Burton, who had himself a day, played like 9 snaps last week in their game. This week, 9 catches, 197 receiving yards, 2 TDs, 1 bad fumble that nearly lost them the game, because that was the thing. I'm talking about Max Johnson taking a safety with an intentional grounding penalty that basically made the game, not basically, it did make the game a 2-score game. All you had to do was cash in on any one of these gifts that Alabama was giving you. And the same is true for Texas A&M. I mean, I watched Ainias Smith fumble the punt and then make a great punt return for the second week in a row, because that's just what that dude does. Bama sacked Max Johnson 4 times in the first half. That defense is still scary as all hell. Malachi Moore was forced to miss the second half with a leg injury, but hope he's okay. But still, you got Caleb Downs back there making plays. Dallas Turner's outstanding. Deontay Lawson is outstanding. Kool-Aid McKinstry's outstanding. They are really good when they can give the offense a lead, or when the offense can just basically get out of their way. But that's what it's going to be for Alabama right now, because right now it feels like Alabama versus LSU for the SEC West Championship. And with LSU needing to score 49 to beat Missouri 49-39, I can't call it, man. But it feels like either one of those teams is going to be in a great spot to play against what we think is going to be Georgia in the SEC championship game. But, you know, knowing what Tennessee might do, what Florida has done, what Missouri might and Georgia might turn into, and so certainly what Georgia and Kentucky is tonight, I'm not sure about that. And I haven't been not sure about Georgia playing the SEC championship game basically since 2016, right? That's how it feels. Not always going that way because Florida, you know, is Florida. But to know that you needed to survive a 26-20 game at Kyle Field against A&M just to get the W is not a good vibe. That's not what anybody wants. And Nick Saban at one point was just absolutely losing his mind with the penalties. I believe they had 14 for over 100 yards. It's just not great football. And they're getting in their own way. All they got to do is be sound and clean. And to see an undisciplined and dirty football team, and as far as penalties are concerned, all this laundry on the floor that you just got to get cleaned up, it's uncharacteristic of what Nick Saban's program has been about. That said, they're still looking at just 1 loss this season, right? And it's to the Texas team that was previously ranked number 3 in the country. And since here on the number 1 college football show, we like transitive wins, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that Texas went into Tuscaloosa, beat the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide by 10 points, 34-24. And then a few weeks later, walked into Lower Oklahoma in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl and got handed a 34-30 L by my Oklahoma Sooners. Now, for those of y'all that already thought that Alabama's loss to Texas was big and that Texas had the best win of anybody in the country, what are you going to say now? I would like to hear it. What excuses are you going to make for the Sooners now? You know, because I said that Ohio State has the best win of anybody in the country, going up against Notre Dame in South Bend and getting the W. But people were like, no, RJ, it's Texas over Alabama. You just don't want to say it because you don't like Texas. I like Texas fine. Win or lose in Oklahoma. I like them just fine. Texas is back to lose in Oklahoma. But I would like to hear from you. Who has the best win in the country right now? Because if you were saying it was Texas over Alabama, you need to be saying it's Oklahoma over Texas, okay? That's what I'm going to leave it at. Of course, you can't agree with me and just say it's Ohio State over Notre Dame, but then that would mean you got to agree with me. And I know how much you don't like to agree with me.